Hi guys, good morning, happy Friday. I hope everybody's doing well and is healthy. So today we are going to be identifying the period and amplitude of sine and cosine functions given the function, okay? And we're going to be using, so for the graphs of our parent functions here, a, right, the absolute value of a is your amplitude, okay? Whatever is in the coefficient of x, okay, that's what's going to determine what your period is, okay? So the period is 2 pi over b, or the absolute value of b, okay? And this is when x is in radians, all right? So this is going to be on each slide, so you can copy down these notes, okay? So let me give you some examples, and then I'm going to give you some practice, all right? So I have the formulas there at the top, okay? So using the parent function, sine, as a guide, graph this function. Identify the period and amplitude. Okay, so I'm not going to make you graph them right now. I'm going to just show you the graphs. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to make you graph them at all at this point. But we are going to be able to identify the period and amplitude and be able to know what that means graphically. What is it going to look like in the graph? Okay, so let's start with amplitude. Amplitude is fairly simple, okay? So we're going to start with the amplitude, okay? So because your A is 1/2, right? The amplitude is the absolute value, right? So whether it's positive or negative, if this were negative 1/2, the amplitude is still going to be 1/2, right? Because it's absolute value. So that means that this graph is going to go up to 1/2 and down to negative 1/2, and it's going to bounce between that. And I'll show you the graph in a second. Okay, now your your period, okay, you need to identify the b, okay, and again, b is in front of your x. So here, what is our b? Our b is going to be 1/2. That doesn't mean that my period is 1/2. I have to figure out what my period is. Now I have to take the b and put it in there. All right, so I have that here, okay? Because b is 1/2, you're going to put 2 pi over the absolute value of b, right? So that means I'm going to take 2 pi and I'm going to divide it by 1/2, which will give me 4 pi. If you're not sure how they came up with 4 pi, hold on, let me grab a paper. Right? 2 pi divided by 1/2, right? So remember, that's 2 pi multiplied by the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2, so that's how you get 4 pi as your period. Okay, so that's how they come up with the 4 pi here. All right, now what does that look like graphically? Okay, here is your graph. So because the amplitude was 1/2, notice that this sine function, it's a sine function, you can see it goes to the origin. The sine function will go up to 1/2 and down to negative 1/2, okay? This is negative 1/2. And it's just going to bounce in between those limits there, those that range from negative 1/2 to positive 1/2, and it's going to keep going, all right, because your amplitude. Now, period I understand is a little bit more difficult to see. Period is basically one cycle, okay? So you can take it from any part of the graph. And remember, our period was 4 pi, right? So if you look, I'm going to take one here. Try to find it from an easy place. Like maybe you wouldn't want to start from here because that's kind of like kind of in the middle there, you know? If I start from here, I know it's from 0. So one cycle would be up 1, down 1, right? Then it would repeat again. Up 1, down 1, right? Up 1, down 1. So my period would be from here, right? Up 1, down 1. And it would stop here, from here to here. So how long is that? This is 1 pi, right? Each one of these tick marks represents pi. So 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. Do you see that? So that's why you got a 4 pi as your period, okay? It went from here to here as one cycle. I could also take it from here. This is another repetitive cycle, right? If I went from this point, I would go down, up. That's one cycle, and then it's going to repeat again. Down, up, right? So from this cycle, this is 3 pi, and I did one cycle here, down, up, and it went to pi. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 pi. The length here, the distance here from your cycle, that's your period of 4 pi. So whether you take it from here or from here, it's going to be 4 pi. Okay, it basically is also like how stretched or compressed it is. Think of it like an accordion. You could smush it in, right? And your period would be shorter, or stretch it out and your period would be like longer. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, so now I have a cosine function. We're going to identify the period and the amplitude. We can use the basic parent function as a guide. So this is the parent function, and we're going to transform it, right? The amplitude is pretty simple to see that the amplitude is 1/3, right? Okay, and now what is my period? Well, I need to find b, right? Because period is 2 pi over the absolute value of b. So my b is 2. Okay, because b is 2, the period is 2 pi over b, right? So 2 pi over 2. Again, it's the absolute value, but nothing is negative at this point. So the 2's will cancel, and you're just left with pi. So let's look at that graph. My amplitude, where is it? Here we go. My amplitude was 1/3. So you can see here's 1/3 positive. Here is 1/3 negative. So that means that's as high and low as the graph's going to go. It's going to stay between 1/3, positive 1/3, and negative 1/3. Okay? And now my period was pi. So let's take one of these cycles here. So from here, we could go down, up. See how this distance here, can't write, I wish I could write on this, is from 0 to pi, right? Remember we got our period was pi. Oops, where am I going? Right, our period was pi. So that means each cycle, so we can do this one here, from here to here. Notice the distance is pi, right? This goes up to pi. I can start from here to here, down and up, right? From pi to negative pi, that's a distance of pi, right? So just kind of take it from a good place where it's easy to see. So no matter what piece of the graph you take it, it's still going to be a distance of pi for your period. All right, so I'm going to be giving you some problems like this where I give you the function and you're going to have to identify the period and amplitude. I might have you identify some graphs, but I don't think I'm going to be making you graph them right now. So let me know if you have any questions. Have a good weekend. Bye.